All right, Debola, I think I should first of all welcome you back.
Yeah, thank
you. From an interrupted break, should I say. I hope you had a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, it was. It was a nice time.
Unfortunately, we have to, be a little sober because of our colleagues, who unfortunately lost their lives. And just before we start, we'll just wish, commiserate with the families and everyone involved in that fatal accident. All right, Demola.
All right. Nigeria's security landscape in 2025 has been anything but quiet, from terrorism and banditry to kidnapping and cybercrime. The threats have evolved, and so have the responses.
Absolutely. And in the Northeast, the military, has recorded gains against Boko Haram. But of course, there are new and very complex threats that have emerged, in different parts of the country. And we're talking about the Lukarawa group in the Northwest and persistent attacks on communities, farmlands, and travelers within that Sahel region.
Boko Haram and ISWAP remain dangerous, with attacks on both civilian targets and military positions at the same time. Insecurity has taken on new forms, whether forest criminality or cross-border banditry, to mention a few.
Well, beyond the physical threats, there is a growing digital battlefield Nigeria has seen. A rise in, of course, cybercrime, all what's happening out there, AI-driven, phishing, deepfakes, and, as well as ransomware, all of these attacks targeting individuals and institutions, and they are very prominent, examples as well.
And in response, the federal government stepped up security efforts in 2025, deepening joint operations, strengthening international cooperation, including with the United States, and investing in new equipment for the armed forces.
And the National Security Advisor, has repeatedly stressed the need for better coordination and smarter strategies. Now, while the military, has taken delivery of new aircraft and armored assets, to boost counterterrorism organizations, people say there's still much to be done, Demola.
Well, President Bola Tinubu has also made it clear that ungoverned spaces must be reclaimed from forest security to advanced surveillance. 2025 saw a push towards a broader strategic reset.
And just to pause a little to say that the ungoverned space you talk about, of course, include the very porous borders and, the span over 1,800 kilometers. And, the Sahel region, of course, where the Lukarawa, terrorist group, operate, has been designated as a major, network for those people. And also, leadership transition at the top of the military have signaled, continuity with the strategies, to rout out the terrorists and bandits with a clear focus on adapting to modern security realities. So the president has, ordered, among other things, withdrawal of police personnel, from, attached to VIPs, redeploying them to frontline operations, all in the bid to ramp up, workforce to deal with security issues.
Yeah, you're right, Claire. And to add to that, the recruitment of forest guards increased police and military intake, and a declared state of emergency on security, all aimed at stabilizing the country.
So the very big question that remains unanswered is, how effective has technology been in securing operations? And our agencies really working together, or are we still seeing the silo activities going on amongst them? But fundamentally, how do welfare morale and accountability affect performance of fighting men, on the ground? Demola.
Yeah, Claire, these are some of the questions and issues that we'll be examining as we review Nigeria's security sector in the outgoing year 2025. I am Ademola Aduyi. Always a pleasure having you join us on this program.
All right, I'm Claire Adelabu Abdul Razak, and I'm trying to see.
Straining your eyes.
No, I'm actually not straining. This is 2026.
Sure? Because your glasses are not there.
Just hold on, my glasses are not here. But this is 2026, and I want to use.
This is 2025. We're still in 2025.
Just a couple of hours, few
We're
hours.
still in 2025.
So I'm trying to use my willpower, to overcome. But don't mind me. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the NTA. All right, welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA here in Abuja. To begin our conversation on the security sector in 2025, let's take a look at the background report put together by correspondent Ibrahim Bello Gunda.
Nigeria's security challenges did not originate in 2025. They are the cumulative outcome of years of evolving threats of terrorist groups, armed bandits, criminal militia, among others, who carry out sustained attacks. Nigeria was confronting multiple overlapping security challenges, each requiring distinct but coordinated responses. Faced with these challenges, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu undertook a series of decisions in 2025 that led to a shift towards broader strategic recalibration. A major highlight of 2025 was the leadership transition at the apex of the Nigerian military hierarchy. The change signaled a continuation of Nigeria's strategic approach to aligning military leadership with contemporary security challenges. The president also directed the withdrawal of police personnel from VIP and private protection duties, redeploying them to frontline responsibilities. The federal government also directed the recruitment of forest guards to improve security around the nation's forests. The president also declared a state of emergency on security, which gave rise to an increase in the number of recruits into the Nigerian police force and the armed forces of Nigeria. Renewed momentum around state police reflected growing demand that a single centralized police force faces significant limitations in responding to localized threats across a vast and diverse country. How critical is it to get security of lives and property right? How can Nigeria continue to build on security gains? And what role can Nigerians play in improving security situation of the country? These and more are some of the questions our guests on Good Morning Nigeria will find answers to as we discuss the security sector in 2025.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim, for that background report. Now, before we begin our conversation, let me just introduce our guest who is here with us on the studio to talk about the security sector in 2025. We have Patrick Agbambu. He's the President, CEO, Security Watch, Africa Initiatives. Mr. Agbambu, it's good to have you again in 2025.
Thank you so much.
To talk about security issues.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right.
All right, we also have joining us via Zoom from Katsina State, Dr. Yahuza Getso, Security Intelligence and Investigation Expert. As always, Dr. Getso, thank you for joining us. And compliment of the season to you.
Compliment of the season. Good morning, viewers, and good morning, everybody in the studio.
All right, I like us to start, with, the recent, U.S. airstrike. There have been a lot of conversations around that, and the conversations have, centered on one, whether or not there was collaboration, and two, on also, the precision question and all that. But Mr. Agbambu, you and I know that in international relations, where it concerns a sovereign entity, any penetration without collaboration or consent is an act of aggression. What can you make of all the conversations around?
Yeah, it has been a very interesting conversation. So many conspiracy theories have been adduced and to this effect, and seriously, it puts to question the intention. Actually, yes, the intention is that Nigeria needs assistance because the insecurity situation we are facing currently seems to is becoming very disturbing. So there is need to get assistance from any well-meaning country, friendly country that means well. And so primarily that is one aspect, even though that the United States president and some congressmen had brought in the issue about genocide against Christians, which I would tell you that there's nothing like genocide against Christians in Nigeria, because I travel around very well, and I can tell you that Christians are allowed to live wherever they are and to practice the religion. Yes, Nigerians are falling victims of these criminal gangs everywhere, both Muslims, Christians, traditionalists, those who do not even believe in anything. They are all victims of this situation. So we cannot single out any particular religion to say there's a genocide against that religion. Even when you look at it seriously, in the recent times, those who have fallen victims of all these criminal issues, you said more are even the Muslims, but not much is said about that. So
I think a lot of conversations have gone around that to clarify this.
Yes, so that is not the issue. So situation in Nigeria needed maybe support, just as we rendered support to the government of the Republic of Benin when the president requested. But whether the Nigerian security agencies, forces, the government of Nigeria, they were aware or they collaborated with the United States in that strike. It's something that, for me, I have not been able to establish the extent, because if they did, to what extent, why should they have the direction where this, because that is not where the biggest threats are. Sokoto, West, and the Central has not been a big issue in terms of the banditry activities.
But international relations point of view, that's certainly almost impossible for a sovereign country.
No,
so,
exactly.
Yes, it's without. So, and the managers, information managers have come out to say, look, the foreign affairs minister has said, look, yes, we had a conversation. We had the conversation. We are aware of this.
Yeah, and
so
they provided intelligence.
Exactly.
Yeah. Was intelligence pointing to the areas where we had the non-precision attacks, where we had in Offa, for instance, where we had in Jabo and all those areas? No. And the president of the United States said that about 12 missiles were fired. Yes, Tangaza is in the Sokoto East, where we have a lot of activities that has taken place in the past. And so it was also part of the areas that received the missiles, the attacks. And the information I gathered was that there were some victims this time around, which is a kudos, which meant that some level must have been achieved. But going forward, we needed to be able to see that they are more pragmatic and direct this in operation in that regard. One of the problem of not collaborating much with Nigeria, I must tell you, by the United States, in most countries where they go on operation, is issue of trust and credibility.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. All right. So the issue of trust and well, let's bring in Dr. Getso now to probably contribute to this same discussion. We're talking about the collaboration between Nigeria and United States, concerning the security issues in this country. How does it reflect on our security strategy? What does it mean for our future security collaboration with, our partners?
Well, the reality is, if we continue to allow any foreign nation, looking at the outlook of the security challenges in the country, and looking at the relationship, the soured relationship between the Muslim and the Christian, and looking at the conflicting issues from 1995 to date, we will say that using religion as a yardstick by the US government is condemnable, and it will not be acceptable. Yes, of course, it is good to collaborate, it is good to partner. No nation ever in the history of the world that ever addressed its security challenges alone. Even the US government need partnership with Nigeria in some of the challenges bedeviling their own nation. However, there are 7 areas for which Nigeria need to partner with the US government, and I'm warning Nigerian government and I'm cautioning Nigerian government and Nigerians to be careful, to be extra cautious. The areas, as I can outline, 1 is area of surveillance, 2, area of capacity of the personnel, 3, support of modern armament, 4, US government, Nigeria need US government to provide an enabling environment to improve our technological advancement as far as fighting the insurgency and security management is concerned. And number 5, we need the more of airspace management capacity in terms of operations, in terms of surveillance, and so on and so forth. And in addition, number 6, we also need training and retraining of our personnel. And number 7, there is need for the US government to provide Nigeria with modern armament for the marine and land army to use. These 7 outline is what I expect, a partnership, not really a direct operational intervention whereby US will send missiles into Nigeria. And looking at the security outlook, one will wonder, when you are talking about ISIS and you went and attacked Sokoto, not really Borno, Yobe, where we have the real criminals or real institutions, non-formal institutions of ISIS related or alliances of Boko Haram, ISWAP, and alike. I'm not disputing the presence of Lakurawa in Tangaza, even though they have been there for quite some time and Nigerian government have been doing very well to some extent. However, it is quite disheartening to say that, to send the missiles to Sokoto rather than focusing more on the areas where we have the real alliance. It is good for US government to support Nigeria, but not really to attack Nigeria. I don't believe in allowing any, despite the fact that on the later been signed by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Tugar, it has been stated clearly that the partnership and collaboration have identified certain things, among which is respect for Nigeria's integrity and efforts to also carefully conduct the operations without affecting the innocent. However, I condemn in totality for any foreign nation to be sending missiles to Nigeria. Why can't you help me on how to catch the fish? Then teach me how to catch the fish rather than giving me the fish to eat. Because when I finish eating, who will give me the next fish? So that's my opinion and that's my take.
So thank you very much. Of course, you're entitled to your perspectives on issues like this. But really, that's not, the crux of our conversation this morning. That's just the tee off. We're looking at security sector in general in 2025. And that's why I'd like to ask you, because some people have said, oh yeah, good enough. This festive period, we had, little or no kidnap incident and all that. I'm just wondering, what are you reading in terms of strategy, in terms of paradigm shift in security strategies?
Well, what I am expecting as a paradigm shift is the fact that, one, improve more of community-driven strategy in terms of how personally relate with the communities, with civilians in the country. And two, for the civilians to introduce to themselves three things. One, Operation Know Your Neighbor.
I'm sorry. What I meant was how are you evaluating, what has happened within this period, such that we didn't get yet, much of what we used to hear. Oh, these people traveled freely to different parts of the country, by road, whatever means. So how are you, assessing that?
There is a really improvement in terms of travels, management, and activities. There is really improvement in commitment from the government and the security agencies in the year 2025. Compared to 2024 and 2023, what we have seen and what we have witnessed is highly commendable. Those decisions being taken by the Mr. President, especially declaring the state of emergency and also partnering with the foreign country, with foreign nations, and also improvement in terms of intelligence, especially response by the Ministry of Defense and all other strata of the security agencies is quite improving, because we have not had many reports of attacks, especially during the festivities of Easter, during the festivities of the Maulud, during the festivities of Salah, during the festivities of Christmas days, that is the Ember months, during the months of November, October, November, December. There is quite improvement. We are not saying that the improvement is 100%, but every Nigerian should encourage the Nigerian security and the government of Nigeria to continue in line and in direction of to which it have started. There is quite improvement, and we are quite happy. And we hope the status quo will be sustained, and the more improvement will help to see a more lighter days in 2026.
All right. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Getso, for that. While Dr. Getso was speaking, our third guest also came in, talking about Professor Eyiz Odige Opatako. She's a behavioral change and regimental effectiveness consultant. Prof, it's good to have you join us on this conversation. Good morning. We're just looking at the security in Nigeria in 2025, the various challenges, and what do you think are the most present security issues that we had this year? I mean, we've looked at the terrorism, banditry, kidnapping, the changes in the security sectors, and all that. What do you think are the most present? Just give us an overview of your own perspective. Let's have your perspective on it.
Okay, compliments of the season.
Same to you.
And we hope for a better year ahead in 2026 and beyond. Overview of what has happened in 2025. Well, considering that it is not yet over and we still have the rest of today, so far in 2025, challenges we've had. We had a lot of organ trafficking. That gives another angle to what people would normally say when they see mutilated corpses, and they will say, the person has been used for rituals. Nigerians are now becoming conscious of the fact that it was not just only for rituals, so to say, but now people are now more aware of the concept of organ trafficking. We also had a lot of the bandits and a lot of the insurgents coming up using more of social media. So there have been videos of them. There was one they showed them entering a supermarket and they were all carrying their AKs. They slung them on their shoulders and then they were drinking yogurt and people were trying to take pictures with them. So sort of what we call pseudo celebrities. And then young men were coming to take pictures with them. So they also are looking for some form of visibility, ego massaging, and some terms of self-propping up, as it were. So that is that. Overview, we have also understood that our security services did a lot of operations this year. We were very happy to see when he was speaking earlier on, the guest before me, and he was talking about what he has noticed this festive period. I will have to buttress the fact that we need to give more kudos to our personnel. It is not easy. We are in the studio, we are eating rice and chicken, and they are standing on the roads, they are fighting in the bushes, and they have families. We need to humanize these people. We need to give them a lot of kudos. A lot of them are there. Christmas, New Year, day and night, according to UCOM members, say in the sun and in the rain, they are there fighting to keep us safe. So I will have to give them kudos. It's not easy putting your life at risk. However, with the way things are going, we have to pay more attention in 2026 to the root causes of why are we having young men willing to negatively put their lives at risk and get themselves involved in this. Because it goes beyond ideology. What are the other reasons? Pecuniary reasons, feelings of hurt, revenge, whatever they are. Government needs to take a critical look at itself, because a lot of these places lack infrastructure presence, and a lot of people have now taken to this sort of lifestyle as an alternative in terms of self-help. So what are we really doing? Are we really looking at why we have so many small and light weapons flying up and down and people have access to such things? Why is it so? 2026 from the very beginning should have a framework for understanding why are these people being indoctrinated, where are they coming from, and how can we ensure that there's greater synergy amongst the security services. Because we should not just only look at the military now, we should look at how can the paramilitary help more, how can the police be supported to provide more support for internal security, because they are the first responders for internal security. That is just the truth. So many things have to be looked at. Frameworks for how government itself will provide more political support and will, and how they can engage more and do correct needs assessments, not just based on assumptions. Put a road, meanwhile the people's first need is actually water. So everybody needs to go back to the thinking cupboard or the thinking room. No, this one is thinking room because it's a collective thinking now, brainstorming now. Because in isolation, we've been having silos, and that is one of our challenges. When people work as individuals or as self-serving institutions where they just go and say, okay, yes, let me just do my bit. But it's not becoming part of a bigger picture. We will have random or sporadic efforts being made. So people need to sit down as a collective now. At the political end, the executive, the legislature, the judiciary, come together at those different levels and go, okay, how can we support these systems better? At the end of the day, it now becomes more cohesive and there's greater synergy, and you have less waste, and you have better maximization of whatever resources and effort you are putting into it. And it is from there you can now gain what you call your KPIs. When you brainstorm, you can now have your key performance indicators and go, okay, fine, this is our timeline, and this is what we need to achieve. And then at the end of the day, everybody puts hands together and it all comes out lovely.
It's beautiful you've talked about KPIs. And that's the KPI that we're talking about. We're evaluating the KPI of the security sector in 2025. Mr. Bambu, I don't know, what do you see has been the major shift in terms of security policy, strategy, and operationalization in 2025?
Yeah, there have been some shift in 2025. Yes, but some of these shifts are as a result of the spontaneous reactions to what's happening now. They are not shifts that happen, that is a planned shift. Even when you have a structural shift, then you have a timeline that is better for you to be able to properly evaluate. But spontaneous shifts are those that you intend to provide some bit of succor for the time being, then you work on it. Some of which we saw during the year when the president declared a national emergency on security, and we had the police withdrawing some of the policemen that were attached to private individuals and all that. We have also had situations where there were some rejigging in the armed forces administration. We have also had some people clamor that what about, she pointed out, the lead agencies in internal security, the police and the paramilitary, what are they doing? Some people were expecting that there should be some actions in that area also. So really, those shifts, you could say that they will offer then the recruitment, the shoring up of the recruitment of personnel for the Nigeria police and the armed forces. Yeah, these are the things that we could say that they are indicators of the willingness of government to improve the security. But again, like I said, these things are not magic words that you think will immediately come out to, because some of those policemen that were withdrawn from private individuals need some reorientation, total reorientation, because already some that were deployed to police divisions were already having some problems within the ranks, because of lifestyles and expectations and all that. So there's need to change their mindset back to the police, because some have been there for over 15 years, 20 years, so they've lost touch with the conventional police.
Need arrangement for such.
So some of all these things will take some. Even the new recruits that have been ordered, it will take some time for them to come out. Then there's need to change the curriculum, because now what we used to have is not sufficient enough with the modern policing and the security situation we are having. So those are the things that we could talk.
Yes, you talked about spontaneous shift. I was hoping that you will also speak more on, the impact of the changes, within the military leadership.
Yes.
The declaration of a state of emergency.
Yes.
That followed that, and of course the ranking of Nigeria as number 6 on the global terrorism index. What did that escalate? What actions?
Yeah, they are positives. Those were some positives. Those were the low-hanging fruits that we could say, okay, we could get out of 2025 quite good. The military upped their game in 2025, we must admit, and they did so well. Yet still there are some areas, loopholes that need to be blocked, which I'm sure that they are geared towards it, knowing what is happening. Then, in terms of terrorism, really, I'm happy that the president declared the bandits a terrorist group finally, which is to make sure that the same force you extend to the Boko Haram can also be extended to this, even though the difference now, when you declare a group a terrorist group, because they have a leadership, it's easier to handle such situation. But when you have splitter groups like in the bandits, now it becomes a bit difficult. How do you identify? There's no leadership you can talk about. So that adds another area that is a big problem in that angle. And that is why the situation in the Northwest need to be handled very carefully, because Northwest situation is an offshoot of the Northeast. And now we saw the Northwest spilling over to the North Central and downwards and all that, because the Lakaras are beginning to gain. And the instance she mentioned, is they are trying to build in some more of internal terrorism, which I have told people that is the most dangerous and most severe kind of terrorism that you have when you start celebrating bandits, the renegades of the society. They become kind of a role model to the younger generation who sees them as attractions, and so it generate new sets. Somebody asked me the other day, the military says, the police say they've been killing and be arresting so many of this. Where are these ones coming? I say, yes, we have some factories that are producing them. Well, they keep on. So long we need to block that tap. Or else it will just be going around the circle, because the number that has been killed, have been neutralized, and the number that's been arrested and locked up, it's supposed to be enough to say, okay, we are done with all this nonsense. But more are being produced, more are coming in, because they are seeing it. Many people are seeing it as a lucrative. The pecuniary this idea comes into it, and they are being seen as some heroes, because we are celebrating them in our news, in our media, and so many things. So really, it's a big problem as we're talking about 2025 with the the beautiful things we can come out of it. But let us not forget that there are some other sore areas in the 2025. We talked about the bombing in the Gamburu market in Maiduguri, the 28 Muslim people that were adopted in about a week ago and all that, and some people as we speak, there were 2 buses that were kidnapped on their way to Enugu just 4 days ago and all those things. So some of these things are not so good, but generally we'd say that there was high improvement in terms of the performance of the security agencies. They demand commendation, just like Professor Hisa just said. You know, we need to encourage them to do more and not to denigrate them that most Nigerians would easily like to do. We'd like to condemn them, but we need to commend them and encourage them to do more.
We need to commend them and also appreciate their efforts, the sacrifices that they are making. Thank you very much, Mr. Akpambu. I would like to inform our viewers that you can also contribute to this discussion by sending your comments and questions so that our guests can respond to them. The number is displayed on your screen, so you can text us or send charts to us asking questions or making your own contributions so that we can read them out. Let's get back to our Zoom guest, Dr. Getso. We're looking at the key elements that shaped, the security strategy for 2025 and what we need to the government needs to rejig, concerning the strategy. And let's get your perspective on this.
Well, thank you very much. I think quickly before I respond to that, let me support Mr. Patrick. Yes, of course, the Boko Haram and ISWAP and others have structured leadership. Also, bandits and kidnappers in northwestern part of the country, they have structured leadership. We know their leaders, we know who are their leaders, and they also speak to the governments of the northwestern states and the federal government using those structured leadership in both northwest and north central part of the country, just to update you and to carry along. In response to your question, yes, of course, there are lots of things that need to look inward. One, we need to look at the issues, conduct SWOT analysis on the, that is one, on the operations and activities being conducted. Number two, there is need to strengthen areas where we achieve more, where we do more. And number three, we need to rebuild and ensure that all relevant agencies in 2026 key in to the declaration be made by the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in respect to declaration of state of emergency on security. Because until and unless each and every agency key in, that is when the policy will be transmitted. That is when the policy will be more practical. And we don't expect only the security strata or only the security agencies to do everything. All other agencies, the Nigerian Airspace Management, ministries of all the line ministries and agencies, each and every one must identify itself with the security challenges and look inward issue of declaration being made by the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu so that we can have improved synchronized activities. Federal Ministry of Health, there are a lot of personnel of the Minister under the Ministry of Health who are participating directly or indirectly in terms of providing support to these criminals and so on and so forth. Minister of Humanitarian Affairs need to look at the perspective to which, where to key in and how to partner and how to support the declaration being made. Minister of Education also, there are lots of students who are members of one group or the other of these terrorists. There is need for the institutions to intensify efforts, both the tertiary and the secondary schools, to ensure that we look carefully at the conducting random sampling in terms of behavior, in terms of background check, in terms of who is relating with what, and also to intensify and improve the relationship between the host communities and the institutions. And at the same time, looking at the Ministry of Women Affairs, there are lots of issues which the Ministry of Women Affairs also expected them to key in into the declaration of state of emergency, not really to mention all. However, there is much need for National Orientation Agency and all other partners in terms of mobilization, in terms of education, in terms of enlightenment, in terms of behavior check, in terms of conducting the social profiling, in terms of conducting the profiling of behavioral profiling, social profiling, and even the security profiling. Yes, of course, the root cause is good to intensify more effort to do more in terms of understanding the root cause, conducting the root cause analysis, so that we can see more of other challenges that we have not been able to outline and we have not been able to bring to the table. The security personnel have done very well and are doing very well, and we commend them for the effort they are making. Anybody who thought that the security agencies or the military are not doing what as expected, I think should try joining the military or joining one of the security agencies. At whatever age, try going closer. They are doing very well, and I don't believe on some opinion that Nigeria's military or Nigeria's security institution, security agencies don't have the capacity. They have the capacity, they have the knowledge, they have the technical capacity, they have all it takes to manage the security that we have bedeviling the nation. So all we need is everybody, all hands must be on deck, and everybody must to support the declaration being made by the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for state of emergency. Religious clerics, both Muslim and Christian, must work hard, must sit up to their responsibility to avoid negative comments, to ensure always looking inward positive, and to always ask questions through the security agencies and the government around them, either the local government, either the state government, either the divisional police offices, either the state commands, either the area commands, and so on and so forth. Ask questions. What are you people doing, and how do we support you? Always go close to the security agencies. Always generate information and avoid exonerating negative information or spreading. At the same time, I'm also calling on the social media activists to please focus on positivity rather than negativity. Social media have attributed and contributed so much in 2025 in terms of exonerating and sharing some of the negative perspective to which actually might have demoralized the capacity and ability and the vision of our security agencies. However, government have done very well in terms of dealing with those issues, especially what government does towards the end of the 2025 by deleting some of the identifying and deleting some of the media handles of the criminals, especially the bandits, the Boko Haram, and this is something that needs to be carried further in the year 2016. The media agencies, NTA and others, you have done very well, and you have done very well in 2015, in terms of 2025, sorry, in terms of reporting, in terms of analyzing, in terms of bringing experts to review ABCD, and there are lots of advocacies that have been made. And I hope these advocacies, please, and clarion calls that have been made through both social media and traditional media will be utilized in as a kind of used as a push for 2026 so that we can do better. I believe 2026 is going to be a positive dream. I believe 2026, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his government are going to do much, much better. And our security officers, our security agencies are going to do much, much better. But they need the support of all so that they can be able to deliver as expected. It is believed, it is believed that the responsibility of managing security is only the responsibility of security agencies and government. Please, Nigerians, I call on all and sundry to believe, to take a think that security is a risk, and risk involve each and everyone. And if each and everyone must also contribute directly and indirectly. Security agencies have provided a kind of phone numbers that in case of emergency, in case of any information, in case of any unwanted behavior, ABC, please, let's take advantage of those phone numbers and ensure that we provide them with necessary information. I believe that they are very much available 24/7 to listen to us so that they can be able to take action and do much more that will help in securing Nigeria.
Dr. Getso, thank you, and you've really spoken quite a lot. But just again, before we come back to the studio to speak with Prof, I'm just wondering what your take will be on the fact that the abducted school children from Niger and the other states now were rescued by the military, and of course we have reports of farmers and other people that were also rescued by our military. But in practical terms, how would you want success to be measured? Is it in the number of those rescued or in the reduction of the incidents? How do we evaluate success in terms of security?
Well, we can evaluate success in terms of number of operations carried out in the year 2025, in terms of reduction in the number of people kidnapped to some extent and the communities. We can also evaluate in the number of improved communication, collaboration, and partnership with communities. We can also look at the number of key players in the cycle of Boko Haram, in the cycle of bandits, and all the rest of other security challenges that we have. The military have been able to neutralize many, and I am saying many, and I believe that many others are on the run. And I believe before the next day, which is the first day of the year 2026, our military and other security operatives are determined. The efforts to rescue the children from Maga in Kebbi State and that of Fintri, St. Mary in other area of Niger State is quite commendable. It's a good effort. And I believe it's not only rescuing the children being kidnapped by the bandits and so on. There are lots more. Military have done so much. For those who have been monitoring, the security agencies in collaboration and partnership with one agency and another, they have done a lot. There are lots more of individuals that have been rescued, to my knowledge, in the northwestern part of the country, and even from the hand of Boko Haram. So the effort being made and the way the Nigerian security are pushing the criminals, many of them, I believe in the year 2026, they have done so much in terms of rescuing from Boko Haram, rescuing from bandits in all parts of the 6 geopolitical zones. Because the activities of the banditry and other criminals are not only being conducted in the northwest or northeastern part of the country or north central. Even in south, in southeast and southwest, there were kidnapping. And the security agencies have done very well in terms of rescue. So we must commend them. For my assessment, they have done above 70%. So they need to be encouraged. And I'm still re-advocating for improved collaboration and partnership. Let every Nigerian believe in Nigeria. We appreciate the presence and the appointment of the General Christopher Musa, retired as the Minister of Defense, who had the acceptance by all and sundry without any criticism. But President General Christopher Musa is really willing, is really agile, is really ready. But all Nigerians must do what General Christopher Musa retired believe in, which is what? Believing in Nigeria. Once we can believe in Nigeria like General Christopher Musa believed in, once every military personnel, once every citizen of Nigeria, once every DSS, once every civil defense, once every policeman will believe in Nigeria, I believe sky is the limit. General Christopher Musa and his team, as well as the leadership under the General Oloyede, the Chief of Defense Staff, they are going to do lots more. I believe they will rescue more and more. And they are right as we are talking. Even yesterday, I had some conversations with some of the group of the security agencies, and there were missions, and we collected many information, and I believe they are still working while we are resting and preparing for the 2026. They are still in the forest. in many parts of Kasana, in many parts of Zamfara, in order to rescue more. They are doing more, and they need to be encouraged, and they need to be supported, and all hands must be on deck for us to achieve the desired objective.
Thank you very much, Dr. Getso, for that contribution there. Every Nigerian must also be involved in this fight against insecurity. Prof, earlier on you talked about the social and economic impact on, especially on this on insecurity in the country, how the youth needs to be, properly engaged, and from the aggregate discussion, what we can deduce is that everyone must be involved in this. So what do you think? How can communities and local governments actually contribute to addressing the issue of insecurity in this country?
You see, the challenge we have in this country is the mentality, and everything boils down to the mentality. The mentality is, if you are law enforcement, security is your business. Security is everybody's business, from the little baby to the old man and old woman, to the professionals, to the traders, everybody, farmers, because it affects everybody. They said you're only as strong as your weakest link. So if one part is unsafe, everywhere is unsafe, because it easily spreads. It's like the local proverb that talks about oil, a finger picking oil, and then it spreads to the entire hand. The challenge we have is, how do we address the mentality of, concern me? So far I'm safe in my little corner. We need to bring back the concept of patriotism. We need to be our brother and our sister's keeper. Once that is centralized in our thinking, our actions, our thoughts, our motivations to do things or not to do things will change. National Orientation Agency needs to understand that the average Nigerian is traumatized because of what he has seen, what he has heard, and in some cases, sadly, what they have experienced. Our country has a lot of what you call the informal news system. Okay. Your neighbor tells you something. It might be exaggerated, it might be real, it might be even imagined, but the person now fans your fears and your insecurities. We need to work on our mentality in this country. Now, when you talk about community awareness, I'm going to talk about several programs we had this year. It was a security forum, and the security forum was for local women. So we had it in Kogi State. The women were brought from all the local governments. Okay. And, oftentimes when people think of security, they think it's a male problem, forgetting that mothers are everywhere. They're in the markets, they're in the homes, they're in the offices, they're everywhere. And whenever violence occurs, it affects women a lot, because they lose loved ones. Husbands, children, neighbor, the impact is widespread, so it affects everybody. So the women were spoken to, because oftentimes people talk about the bandits and they think it's just the kinetic component of the banditry. Now we're talking about the negative kinetics now. But we have people who ferry arms, who supply them with food, who they have been caught with fuel. Some of them we tie it inside bags, hide it, and package it, because they believe if you are a man passing through, you will be searched. But because you're a woman and you're looking innocent, you will not be searched. So a lot of them serve as couriers for such things. So it's a case of your community. How are you ensuring that the women around you are accountable and they're also accountable? So everybody is not saying it's none of my business. Okay. So at that level, the women were spoken to. We spoke about even things like mental health. We spoke about drugs. And the women taught me new names of drugs, in addition to the ones we already know. Why? Because as we are sitting in the studio here, before this program started, somebody's experimenting somewhere. There's a Nigerian musician that talked about science students. We have them all over the country. They're trying to create more potent strains of drugs. And in indoctrination, and also in carrying out violence, you cannot rule out the role of drugs to desensitize, because at that point your inhibitions are dropped. And you can do and undo, as it were. So those women too were also spoken to at that level. Subliminally now, these women now started thinking and then talking about the different things they can do, because they see their sons, they see their daughters, and they are the first people to notice funny movements or changes in behavior and character. So at that level, are you carrying these people along? So when we talk about community support, our religious leaders need to be sat down and understand that, no, don't do this. No, you need to make them understand why they should not do this. So it's not about just standing and carrying a microphone and preaching to your congregants. It's a case of make them understand the reality of these things. Because why some of these young men come online and do some of these things, it's still a form of psychological warfare. People just think it's just the weaponization of fear. But when you come up and you make it look glamorous, and you make it look like you can be a celebrity, people will fear you, look up to you, because that's still the mentality in cultism or even the mafia crime concept, where people have no choice but to bow before you. Even though you are young, you are powerful. So it gives them what you call an illusion of power. So when you are able to take that away and make them see the reality that, no, this is it, see the conditions in which they live, this is the reality, this is the outcome, they don't have a life, they are suffering, they are always on the run, then you now begin to make them think. Because the bottom line is, if you think about something, your brain now begins to engage, and you don't just dispassionately believe that, hey, once I get there, I become a big boy and I can run things.
Doctor,
so that is on one side.
Sorry to even
I think he's talking about the consequences of
within, from all that you've said,
yes,
I'm just going to ask you one question. Within the context of our conversation that's addressing issues of insecurity, what do you think is the major lesson that 2025 has taught us? Do you think that insecurity has now gone down to probably a socio-economic governance issue? Is that what it is?
It cannot just be distilled to that, because there are other variables involved. You have to look at the different hand. It's a hydra-headed problem.
First, what has it taught us? What have we learned from addressing 2026?
Okay, I will put it this way. What I think all of us should have learnt, because there are people who might not learn anything. There are people who might be inspired to create more havoc in 2026, because we must understand that this is also a mixed multitude when we talk about the citizens of this country. But I think what all of us should have learnt now is that we are able to clearly understand that security is everybody's business. Security affects all of us. It is in all our best interests. Because when people look at farmers being affected, the price of foodstuff will go up. So you in the town that thinks it doesn't affect you, it will affect you. If farmers are not able to go to farms, food items will go up. So everything has what you call a domino effect. So if it doesn't catch you because of insecurity directly affecting your environment, because we have people who cannot go to their villages. It is that bad. And at the end of the day, food affects you. If things are more expensive, you are now under more financial pressure and stress. So everybody should understand that one way or the other, insecurity affects everybody. So it is everybody's. Now know that. So we hope. No, it's a hope. Because some people do not know that. There are people who sit down and disassociate themselves from some certain things. They believe it doesn't affect them. You know, the average Nigerian can have the concept of, na so we do them. So far, concern me. Even if my neighbor's house is on fire, I'm good. So far, I'm secure.
Can I just take that from you and ask you to hold on?
Yes.
When we come back from this break, please, you continue.
Yes,
you're watching. Good morning. All right, welcome back. And Dr. He, you were explaining, Professor He, sorry, you were saying, explaining the community aspect, involvement in security issues. Please go ahead.
You see, the average Nigerian has to take ownership of the situation. It affects everybody one way or the other. Like I said just before the break, people believe that if they are not facing directly the consequences of insecurity, it doesn't concern them. Nigeria has a general problem with apathy. We used to have our brother's keeper in those days. But nowadays, people are to your tent to Israel. That mentality has to change. So there has to be a shift in the reorientation of Nigerians. When we talk about community relations now, or when we talk about community engagement, it works at different levels. We have the concepts that religious leaders key into. We have the concept that traditional leaders key into. Market women have their role. Artisans have their role. Teachers have their role. Now, when we talk about community engagement, I'll give you an example. When Anthony Joshua had that very horrifying accident recently where unfortunately he lost two of his closest friends, and I think one of them was his trainer, his support system. Right? It was daytime. People were able to call. Road safety was there. And the situation was quickly sorted out and traffic now had free flow. Now, if somebody did not know who to call or what to do at that point, who knows how the outcome would have even been even more scary or different. Our communities, that concept of apathy has to change. At the community level, do you know fire services number? So that it might not just be for your neighbor's house. It might be for your own sake. We have buildings collapse in this country. People don't even know how to call NEMA. People don't know, even if it is one of the agencies you get in touch with, they can always patch you into somewhere else. Like your police number now. Okay, there is an issue now. It is not until you have the DPO's number, but even as a community, why do you not have the DPO's number?
You talked about numbers now, and I'd like us to quickly, make some clarifications as to, the issue about emergency numbers. I think what we said was that there was a number, but accessing these emergency services, at the state level would require you accessing numbers, and we have some numbers. The number to dial is 112 accordingly, but then to request emergency ambulances, you can alternatively use state-specific numbers. And the state-specific numbers are very long numbers. Very long numbers. And I have this. Lagos State, for instance, has 767, and then there is an 081, it's a long number. FCT, Ekiti, and all the other states have the different numbers. So that's what Demola and I tried to explain. We did not say.
Anyway, I think that is clarified.
Yes, so I think we needed to clarify that.
Yes, we have already some comments and questions from our viewers, which we'd like to read out so that we can, guests can respond to them. This one is from Dauda Anthony. It says, the security situation has improved these days. We thank God for his divine intervention. May God Almighty bring a permanent security solution to our dear country. Thank you, Dauda, for that observation. This one is, from Tijani Kerim from Abuja. It says, good morning, NTA. My opinion on Nigerian insecurity issues is that if the country improves availability of jobs for citizens, criminality and insecurity will reduce in the country. Well, thank you. This one is Sharif from Maiduguri says, good morning, Nigerians. We should not live in denials. Nigerian military needs a superior collaboration to bring these terrorists to their knees. Kudos to Mr. President for sanctioning the collaboration. Same collaboration should be extended to Borno State and its environs. This is from Ibrahim Bukabiu from Borno State. It says, we hope President Tinubu will stand his ground on withdrawal of police from VIP, including reducing the numbers attached to the three arms of the government. I commend the President. Thank you. This from Nadom Uye. Nadom Uye is from Jos. It says, Nigeria's security is complex, requiring tailored approaches for different regions and threats. With kidnapping and terrorism remaining major concerns, we must prioritize long-term solutions aimed at addressing the root causes of these forms of insecurity. We can do it. God bless Nigeria. And the last one I have here is from Caleb. Caleb is from Plateau. He said, Peace Club should be made in primary schools, secondary schools, and tertiary schools to catch them young on the importance of peace security in our country. Thank you. Mr. Akambu, I want you to respond to some of these comments that have come from our viewers.
Let me take the Peace Club ideology. See, in those days, that used to be the beautiful thing about going to schools in Nigeria, because even though it wasn't mandatory, but it was something that was a fun that you must belong to one. We used to call it extracurricular activities those days, various societies. Yeah. And that keeps the child busy and looking forward to school and a lot of activities meaningfully. Then Man No War, Girls Guide, Boys Brigade, Boy Scout, So I remember then all the way from Delta State, to have to travel to Jos because we had to go to Sherry Hills.
Go for camping.
For campaigns and all that. It used to be something that kept the young ones, the minds busy, and makes it to build the national entity that we're talking about. But I don't know whether it's civilization or whatever, or westernization. We'll begin to lose all these programs. We'll begin to, all these things are no longer existing in most of the things. There's even debating societies, so many science clubs for those. So a lot of things. So after normal school hours, you have other activities, even weekends. So the child is engaged and the brain is being put to useful use.
Technology has taken over.
So, but a lot of these things doesn't exist now, and that has been the problem. And I think that is very, very important that the Ministry of Education and the social development in most of our states must bring back this situation. I know, again, some would say that, a lot of activities, so much homework given to children and all those things, that's another problem in itself again, academics. So I think that is very, very important. We must go back to that so that people, children, young ones can be somehow, through all those school activities, develop passion that has helped them further. And that is another thing. Then somebody talked about the need to get that security has improved. Yes, I must say yes. I know, and in fact, one of the things I can tell you that there are some communities I know, especially in Anambra and Imo State, they say they have not been to their villages for more than 5-6 years. Wow. And this year, the youths were able to come out and start clearing the bushes because they have seen peace. People are beginning to come back home. In fact, they started doing that from ending of November to December, and that is a practical way to say that yes, peace are returning. And that is one beautiful thing that we must take away in this 2025.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's also say Nandom Wuyep from Jos says, I really want to extend my deepest sympathy to the NTA staff and family members of the journalists who lost their lives in the tragic accident. Our hearts are with you and every other person who has lost loved ones. May the Lord comfort you. Thank you very much, Nandam Wuyap from Jos. Good morning. Odunus Uluwale from Lagos says the operations carried out in Sokoto by U.S. Army is called practical for our army. Now let our army go to northeast and other affected areas and neutralize the Boko Haram and others. Thank you very much, Odunusi Uluwale from Lagos. Dauda from Borno. Mandara Mountain in Borno State needs to be cleared. It is located in Bayandutse, Goza local government area. Since 2013, we can't access our farms. We are forcefully ejected from our land. We need the federal government to look into that matter. Dada from Borno State, and I'll read this again. Mandara Mountain in Borno State needs to be cleared. It is located in Bayandutse, Goza local government area. Since 2013, we can't access our farms. We're forcibly ejected from our land. We need the federal government to look into that matter. Dauda from Borno State, that's your message. Thank you. And Emulamo says, a very good morning to all of you in the studio. One of the guests rightly mentioned that banditry, kidnapping, and terrorism have become very lucrative. I suggest, therefore, that government should think of capital punishment on any one of them that is caught. That will go a long way in reducing its incidence. And this speaks to the issue of punishment, yes, for criminals and bandits. From Chris Favor, in my view, tackling insecurity, security challenges, in the country, I think, he says, foreign hands, in quote, should be deployed, for assistance. He says two heads are better than one. God bless Nigeria. That's Chris. And from Chris Simeon, 2025 has already wound up. We want to enter a new year that's free from insurgency, bombing, kidnapping. Please, federal government should double its effort. God bless Nigeria. Good morning to gentlemen and ladies in the studio. Thank you, Chris Simon, for all your, and thank you everyone for the contributions, especially to Nandem. We are for commiserating with us.
Maybe we have Dr. Getso to respond to some of the comments that have been, read out.
I really commend those who are calling about peace clubs. not only in schools. I am re-emphasizing the need for neighborhood identification. Ensure that you know your neighbor and extend the hand of peaceful coexistence in order to ensure that a relationship is improved going by what has happened in 2025. Let it be something better in 2026. And at the same time, there is need to also extend. I appreciate those who call on areas like Goza, Mandara, and many other places. Those places are known, and these notorious guys remain there for quite some times. And they are not in any hideout or any enclave as sometimes being proclaimed. So there is need to intensify effort. In this regard, I am also making a plea for Nigerian government to please do more on how we define extension of relationship, partnership with foreign countries. We should learn lessons on our diplomatic challenges, and we should learn lessons on the diplomatic friendships from other countries. Yes, of course, those who have also made comments, they have emphasized related issues of acknowledgement of the performance of our military and our security agencies, who also help them in redoubling their efforts and doing much better. And like has been said, security is everybody's business, and everybody must be able to participate directly. It is in this regard I am appealing and advocating for all the local government chairmen to strengthen and make it more effective the monthly security review meeting, which is being carried out in 774 local governments on monthly basis. And those informations that are being generated, let there be a feedback to the respective communities. Because if I provide you the information and you kept quiet, you didn't provide a feedback to me, you are discouraging me for saying it or for providing you those informations. The relationship between the sister agencies at the local level need to also be strengthened and need to also identify and reprofile the non-formal security sector at the community level. This issue of community-driven, community ownership can only be strengthened if we carry along each and every one right from the bottom. I will also advocate for the need to also have a ward level development or ward security meeting. Because if we can have that ward security meeting where all those key players at the ward level will come together, those informations will be brought up to the monthly security review meeting. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Getso. Thank you. Thank you. Prof, quickly now, if you may, maybe in less than 60 seconds, if you can, so that we can also get, Patrick's view. I mean, I'm glad that Mr. President has said we must, we will take control of our ungoverned spaces. And like Dauda from Borno, the message is sent. Mandara Mountains is one of those. We know that forest banditry is highly unpredictable. They come, strike, and and all of that. How can we address this banditry, forest banditry, without using the usual regimented military approach?
1 million law enforcement, give or take a couple of hundred of thousands, because every day people are retiring. Over 200 million Nigerians non-kinetic supports they can provide. Government needs to make people understand why they need security to be everybody's business. A framework needs to be developed where Algon takes ownership of their own component of the system. Governors Forum takes ownership of some element of it. And we now have what you call correct needs assessment and also implementation. Government needs to ensure that we have people who are on death row, as we were to call it in Nigeria here, people who have been sentenced to death for different murders. Some of them have been quite notorious. However, those people are still in prison and those sentences have not been carried out because some governors have refused to sign. They need to also take ownership so that they understand that if you do the crime, you will pay
for it.
You will pay for it and you will do the time. So when all those deterrents are there, and they are not just on paper, but they are actually carried out, when there's an operationalization, as it were, of all those things, then you now begin to see the different gears rolling together to make the entire system work. So local governments, councillors, everybody needs to be on the same page concerning this issue.
What needs to be done for the forest guards? Because we now have forest guards. So what needs to? What do we do to strengthen? To strengthen them.
Correct orientation, because the guardrails have to be put in place. Otherwise, you have what happened in Anambra State, where the local, I think it's Agunejimba, that went and beat up a copper, stripped her naked and all of that. I'm sorry to say, the average person who is given that level of power without the guardrails and proper orientation, it can quickly go into his head. Power corrupts and corrupts absolutely. So how do you ensure that these people do not become weapons in the hands of the wrong people, do you understand, and used negatively, and at the end of the day, they now become a weapon fashioned against themselves. So they need correct training, reorientation. There needs to be a psychological shift.
All right, a reorientation. Thank you, Prof. Because of time, sorry to cut you short there. Mr. Agbambu, as we round up this conversation, a lot of people have talked about the need to strengthen collaboration among security agencies. What do you think, can be done, to further strengthen collaboration and coordination to tackle complex threats in the country?
Yeah, collaboration is very, very important. Working in silos is no longer ideal. We must work in unison. But we're talking about collaboration. We're talking about creating another agency. Anyway, that will be for another day discussion, the forest guards itself, because we are creating so many security agencies in Nigeria that we are losing track. We're taking responsibility from another agency and forming another agency, or we're duplicating. We must look into very seriously. And when you do so, you are creating rivalry, because who are those that are supposed to have been monitor those forests? And you're taking out it from there. They are not going to work closely with the new forest guard you have created. So that will be another discussion entirely. But generally, it's important to work together, because you see something, you must do something as a security agent, not me because I want to take the credit. I want to be the one. No, we want to achieve the same. We want to achieve good results, so we must work together.
Thank you very much. Let's go to Dr. Getso now and get his passing remark. Earlier on you talked about the need to enhance capacity and professionalism. What reforms are needed in just less than 1 minute?
Well, the reform needed is to ensure implementation of all the recommendations being made by the committees being set over time. Let's endorse those recommendations and bring them forward, and ensure that the state governors also take advantage of the communication service providers as far as communication is concerned, MTN, Airtel, Glo, and 9 Mobile, to have a toll-free number that is very short, that can easily be accessible, and ensure the utilization of those informations and strengthen collaboration in terms of information generation. I believe with that, sky is the limit. We'll be able to do better in 2026.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yahuza Getso, a security, intelligence, and investigation expert. Thank you so much for your contribution and compliment of the season once again, and Happy New Year in advance.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Father.
I also want to thank Professor Aiz Odige Okpataku, behavioral change and regimental effectiveness consultant. Thank you so much, Prof, for your contribution this morning. Thank you for spending the last day with us in 2025. Thank you so much. Mr. Patrick Akpambu, always a pleasure to have you, contribute to our discussion. Thank you so much, and compliment of the season to you. Happy New Year in advance.
Thank you so much. Happy New Year to the viewers and to NTA.
Yes, and I'd just like to appreciate all of you that have sent your messages. Everyone who's been part of Good Morning Nigeria, specifically Demola. Yesterday I ran into a lady, Flora Eduka, and she's a passionate fan of Good Morning. So Flora, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Those behind the cameras. This is the end of 2025. Good morning, Nigeria. The producers, the editors,
the director,
so many, everybody. Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you. I see you tomorrow.
We'll see you in the new year.